Miles apart. You so dumb.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Listography. Jason here with Kramzer. It is a rare week off. No Joe this week. The last time Joe had a week off was Pavement Week. It's been a while. He's a workhorse, and that was his only week off so far since he joined the channel. This is his second week off, but this week taking a break for Built to Spill, indie rock band from the 90s, have been releasing records up until last year, the most recent. 9 altogether for us to rank. Any thoughts on Built to Spill before we start the ranking?
I like Built to Spill a good bit. Keep It Like a Secret was very close to winning Album of the Year for me in 1999. Interesting history I have with them. I knew some of the hits off of Keep It Like a Secret and Perfect From Now On. Not the hits, but the well-known songs. And I thought they were okay. I never really grabbed them much. And then I got invited to a show of theirs during the tour for You in Reverse, and I thought they were just awesome live. And even the stuff I knew before seeing them live, once I saw them live, kind of just reshaped my opinion. And one of those cool effects where you see someone live and you're able to just appreciate even the stuff you know even more. So that's one of the best occurrences of a live act just elevating for me. And I immediately right around then listen to their back catalog. I've checked out every album since, and the only one I didn't know going into this week was Ultimate Alternative Waivers, the debut. Yeah, I had a pretty extensive knowledge of what their discography was all about, except for that one. How about you?
Yeah, I knew most of them. I also have never heard Ultimate Alternative Waivers before this week, and I was aware of the Daniel Johnston cover record coming out. I just never got around to it last year. So the first one and the last one I had never heard. I've heard all of the others before, owned several of them, so I know some of them very well. So yeah, I like them a good bit. And I guess I will get into it. You want to start, number 9?
Yeah, I'll start with that Daniel Johnston covers album that you just mentioned. Built to Spill plays the songs of Daniel Johnston. I listened to it once last year, gave it 2 stars, revisited it this week. I'm still at 2 stars. When I first listened to it last year, I didn't really know that much about Daniel Johnston or his songs. This time around, I played around with some of the playlist of Daniel Johnston just to get a little familiarized. I got nothing really bad to say about him. I think he's really intriguing, really unique. And given the circumstances of his life and death a few years ago, very pretty tragic, and you don't want to say anything bad. Just not really my cup of tea. At least this covers album is what I'm talking about. His stuff is a little different. I don't really see, I don't want to sound harsh and say I don't see the point of making this, because Built to Spill were backing him up, Daniel Johnston, for a couple of years. So they have a pretty tight relationship with them. Paying homage, doing a covers album, it's really nice. But if I'm being a fan of music and a reviewer on YouTube, I don't really like this album very much. I'm going 2 stars. It doesn't grip me. I don't think it's got the same wonder-like innocent charm that Daniel Johnston has. Yeah, I don't want to say too much else, but for what you want for Built to Spill, which is the Doug Martsch leading, just guitar, just arrangements and layering, this isn't really what I'm looking for. So it's the only one I've got below 3. 2 stars. Built to Spill plays the songs of Daniel Johnston at number 9.
All right, my number 9 is their debut album, Ultimate Alternative Waivers. I think it's immediately obvious that Doug Martsch is the guy in the band. He's got a really cool, unique voice, really cool guitar playing, interesting guitar tones. This record has a different rhythm section than the one that would be, on most of their albums. And to me, they sound kind of amateurish on this record. I don't think they play very tight. And I think a lot of the parts that are cool lack impact because of how it's kind of loose and disjointed the rhythm section is. So I think even though Martsch is the highlight here, also I think his songwriting hasn't fully developed yet. It's obvious that he's going to be the star of the show, but I don't think, he's reached his peak. So I don't think the songs are all that great. One of those cases of a band coming out with their debut. You know, we talk about like the great debuts of all time and bands that just arrive fully formed. And Built to Spill, I think, is the opposite, where they've emerged, and it's clear that they still have a good bit of development left to do. 3 stars. I don't know if I said that.
Yeah, 3 stars. Okay, nice. I get it, but sometimes to me, like the Mott the Hoople debut we did a few weeks ago, I find it kind of charming, so I don't have it at number 8. Instead, I have the 2009 release, There Is No Enemy, at number 8. I've got it at 3 stars. If the entire album were how I feel about the first half of the album, it probably would be in the 2-star range. I think the second half saves it. It's a night and day kind of effect for me. I don't really like the way the vocals sound on this or how they are mixed. You were talking about on the debut, you get Doug's voice right off the bat, which sort of like baby Neil Young to me at times. Like, it's pretty cool. I find the whole thing, I don't know, I think it's just really kind of soft for them. The guitars are really reined in. They seem too focused on the songwriting and not enough on like the jamming and the spontaneity. Definitely does have some really nice moments of like nice long melodic jams, but I want more umph. I want some more craziness. I want some more power, some more vinegar in it. You get some of it on songs like Oh Yeah, and then you get a nice heavy riff on Pat, and then the closer Tomorrow definitely has that, but the rest of it is just very weak and mundane for me. I need them to sound, I need those records and the guitars to sound like they're really riveting and like they're live in your face. This one is just really kind of glossed over. I mean, it's not a lost cause of a record. I think Hindsight is a really good song with a little country flair on it. I like Done, Planting Seeds, but yeah, there's the momentum of it really just kind of kills it for me. Not enough power. There Is No Enemy. 3 stars. Number 8.
Right. My number 8 is Built to Spill, plays the songs of Daniel Johnston, but I'm up to 3.5 on it. I think it's pretty good. I like Daniel Johnston a lot. I think he's a great songwriter. I think there's a kind of genius to what he does and what he did. You know, as a writer, he's brilliant, but I always felt that his performances left something to be desired. I don't think his skill as a musician was up to his skill as a songwriter. So I've always really enjoyed not just Built to Spill, but anybody when they cover his songs. I always seem to really like it. There's some great compilations of different people doing his songs, and there's some great stuff on them. And I think Doug Martsch does them really well. I think something about his voice especially translates well. I think that kind of higher voice that Doug Martsch has kind of captures that sort of innocent thing that's happening in Daniel Johnston's songwriting. So I like it. I think it's pretty good. I think especially their version of Heart, Mind, and Soul is great. So if you're going to check out one song from it, I would steer you to that one. But I think it's a really good covers record. I'm not going to put it higher than some of the other records in their catalog, but yeah, it's definitely, I think it's worth a listen.
I think my appreciation of that album really just suffers because I don't know Daniel Johnston that well. Again, from what I do know, I find it really intriguing. Yeah, that like childlike wonder that he brings, really cool. All his songs feel like they're from like the perspective of like a baby laying in a crib looking at the what the hell is that thing called?
A mobile?
Yeah, mobile. All right. Number 7, I've got the follow up to the debut, There's Nothing Wrong with Love. This is the one that brings on Phil Eck for the first one. Very underrated producer from the last 25 years, Built to Spill, Fleet Foxes, many more. What you were kind of saying about the debut, kind of I agree with, but like I said, kind of plays into a different kind of charming, innocent hand that I like that they have on this. And this one comes in, he makes an immediate impact, Phil Eck, centralizes all of their ideas, stuff's more compact, slightly prettier sounds, rhythm section is much different, but I do think they lose some of their spunk and character here. Something that's pretty good. I think the songwritings are good. Reasons, love his repetition and how it gives him conviction with the way he writes that song. The album feels, even though there's like an amateurness to the first one, this one feels like they're playing up like the indie crowd a lot more. It's a little dorkier, a little quirkier. Like Big Dipper has like, it's like the big science geek and dinosaur song. But I do kind of feel like the musicianship is taking a back seat. From the first one, you know that Doug is going to be the songwriter and the showman with the guitar. And this one, the guitar kind of takes a back seat. For me, I Want It Crazy. I Want It Awesome. Dystopian Dream Girl's really good. It's definitely not a bad album. Stab at the end brings like that Built to Spill that you're going to get after this album that I really want. Overall, I'm giving it 3 stars. At number 7, There's Nothing Wrong with Love.
So far, aside from us both having the Daniel Johnston record pretty low, we are miles apart. My number 7 is Perfect From Now On, a record that I think most Built to Spill fans would rank pretty highly, probably top 3 for a lot of people. They kind of find their sound on this record, which is, I think, why a lot of people like it. It kind of establishes the signature Built to Spill sound. A lot more guitar overdubs, just layers and layers of guitar. The guitar tones are a lot richer. On the first 2 records, they're kind of thin sounds that they're playing with, but much richer guitar tones. They're adding in some like Moogs and synths, just kind of like filling out the mixes. Everything sounds really big and full, sounds really good. They're stretching out a little with song structures, a little more jammy, experimental. But I think for me, there's just not enough variety on the record. It's all just these kind of like mid-tempo, long guitar jams. And it just doesn't hold my interest that much. There is some good stuff on it, obviously. I Would Hurt a Fly is great. Stop the Show, also really interesting, goes some interesting places. But it just doesn't grab me the way the other records do. I think there's just too much of it that just sounds the same. And especially I think when it comes to the tempos is the main problem. The tempos are very kind of the same throughout the whole record. But 3.5 stars. I still think it's a good record.
Fair enough. My number 6, I'm going up to 3.5 stars, and this is where I've got the debut. I think it's a great little piece of Built to Spill history. Yeah, it's everything you would want out of like a nice debut of just youngsters playing their instruments. Everything if you don't like indie rock, you will absolutely hate it. It's playful and fun, gives you like that kids clubhouse feel. You really get Pavement vibes on this one, mixed with some dissonance. Good guitar work. It is thinner. Like once Phil Ek gets that second album under his belt, you really get that good sound. But I think that there's some really impressive early signs of what they're going to be able to do with kind of just where the songs go from part to part. Compositions are pretty unexpected. The first song has some really cool organ on it. I just like the way they play with their arrangements and their compositions. And I like his voice on this early album. It's even more high and Doug Martsch than ever. He really sounds like this. It's great. I love the unexpected stuff like the breakdown with the piano and Shameful Dread. That's really cool. I love the little solo and Nowhere Nothing Fuck Up. It's got college rock, hazy grunge, lazy grunge, indie rock mashup with like that Neil Young vocal cloud. Built Too Long at the end, parts 1, 2, and 3 is really cool. So I don't think, like you said, they've really become their sound or their craft, but I think you can see the talent, like you were saying, in putting those little touches in everywhere that no one else was really doing quite like that. So yeah, I think it's pretty good. I'm glad I gave it a couple of listens, and I'll probably go back to it at some point. Ultimate Alternative Waivers, 3.5 stars. Number 6.
All right, my number 6 is Ancient Melodies of the Future from 2001. Another Phil Ek produced record. I think it's a good record, but I think it feels a little bit less inspired than the previous 2 records. They kind of find their sound on Perfect From Now On. They kind of take it up a notch to another level and perfect it with Keep It Like a Secret. And then I feel like after that, they didn't know what to do. And they were like, so do we just keep doing this? But the tempos come back down on this record. They're slower again. They had brought up the tempos and varied the tempos a bit on Keep It Like a Secret. A lot of this record is pretty slow again. The tracks do build nicely. There's always like some nice crescendo at the end where the guitars get louder and things like that. But all in all, I just think there's not really any new ideas on this record. I do like Strange a lot, the opening track, probably my favorite track from it. And there's other good songs throughout it. It doesn't feel as inspired to me as their other records. 3.5 stars.
Miles apart. You so dumb. I'm going number 5. I'm not part of the Built to Spill classic crowd. I'm going Perfect From Now On here at number 5 at 3.5 stars. I agree with everything you said, especially with it all kind of just blending in with the same tempo. is the biggest problem with it, and the variety kind of laughs. But do love the sound of the lead guitar here. I love the first song, Randy Described Eternity. Love that little guitar hook. Love how the composition just kind of hangs and then finally turns. I think the lyrics get a lot better on this album. I think especially with I Would Hurt a Fly right off the bat. There's some really cool psychedelic guitar too. And just love when they do those just energetic, straight ahead garage band jams. Do have a bit of a problem, not just with the tempo, but how this is sequenced. I think Stop the Show just kind of like puts your foot into like a pothole as you're going through it. Has a really drowsy instrumental opening that'll eventually pick up and get awesome, but should have just cut out the first 3 minutes of the song or put it later in the album. Velvet Waltz is great. Love that guitar. It's just like a paintbrush all over the song and the album, all the albums. Kicked It in the Sun is great. I think overall, every single thing is just upping its game from the first Phil Ek album, and then it'll up its game even more after that. So it's a really good building block. Very close to 4, but I'm keeping it down at 3.5. Perfect from now on, number 5.
All right, my number 5 is also my final 3.5-star record. I have Untethered Moon. This one was produced by Doug Martsch and Sam Coombs, who had a pretty long relationship with the band. He played keys and stuff on some of their earlier records. They also have a new rhythm section on this record. The other guys quit in 2012. I think the main thing with this record, it's not super different. I mean, most of these records sound like Built to Spill, but I think the guitar tones on this are kind of heavier and fuzzier and a little denser, and the whole mix is kind of denser, which is kind of cool. Another Day has this really deep, heavy organ sound layered underneath the guitars, which is awesome. I think the songwriting's pretty good. Living Zoo is really good. Never Be the Same. CREB is cool. I don't know really what else to say about this one. It's a good record with good Built to Spill songs, and if you like Built to Spill, you'll probably like it. So yeah, it's a good one. 3.5 stars.
I think you're really underselling how heavy that album is. But let's go to number 4, which I've got at 4 stars, You in Reverse. And I used to have this album really high up on a personal list of mine, and it's kind of come down a little bit, mainly because it was the first Built to Spill album I really got into, a la my story at the beginning of the video. But I think this one is, they're not really reinventing anything that they've been doing for the last couple of albums, but some of the songs on here are just so darn good. The opener, Going Against Your Mind, is just awesome. The guitars sound so good, especially when the bass starts playing along with it, and that one little section in the opener, it's just awesome. Traces has some really cool guitar parts to it. Liar is a really sweet, catchy, like little just pretty song. I love it. Gone is really good with the bass and the organ on that one. The only problem I have with it is a couple of songs on here that don't quite live up to like my favorite Built to Spill songs. And then the ones that I do really like on here just aren't quite as good as some of the other albums that I like more. So it's really just a case of great, not amazing. But I do think it's great. Universe, 4 stars. Number 4.
Right, my number 4 is There Is No Enemy from 2009.
Thank God. I thought that was going to be your number 1. I really did. And I was going to be like, come on, dude.
But I really disagree with your assessment of it. I think it is super front loaded.
We couldn't be more different than that. We literally, it's a 5-star album if we just each take a half of that piece of crap. Not piece of crap. It's fun. It's good.
I have it at 4 stars. I think it's really good. They add a third guitarist to the lineup for this one, which you would think would make things really crowded. But I think it's actually has probably the most space in it of any record of theirs since at least their second album. I think it has this really kind of shimmery quality to the guitar tones. And a lot of it's really pretty, I think, which is maybe you were saying it lacked oomph. But I like that. I think the songs are really melodic, really catchy, kind of sweet. I love Hindsight. Nowhere Lullaby, I think, is great. Life's a Dream. Some of the other songs that you mentioned liking, I think are good. I think Done is really cool, but there's a section in the middle that I don't think is necessary. It kind of goes on too long. But overall, I think it's really strong. Planting Seeds is really cool also, which is in the back half of the record. So the back half isn't a total loss, but I think the front half is definitely stronger. There's also some cool horns on this record, which is kind of a different little twist for them. I've got this record at 4 stars, number 4.
Yeah, I mean, you're right. I want Built to Spill to be a rock band first before anything else. I want it loud and I want it strong, which happens right now at number 3, 4.5 stars, Untethered Moon. Really rocking right off the bat. Love the drums. It's heavy and fast. Living Zoo is really cool. Love the first like minute of it when it just the tempo just speeds up, and they do it so tight and everyone's catching up with one another. Really cool. And then love when he does the tiger sound on the guitar when he mentions the tiger in the song. He's just like, wow. It's awesome. He's such a cool guitar player. I think Never Be the Same is really catchy, especially like with the I love when he's like, anything you want, you got it, you got it. CRB is awesome. A lot more character in this. I think his vocals on this album, he's really becoming more of like a front man ever. Like you can almost picture him without the guitar, like really taking on some of the performance in his body and giving it some style. Obviously, he's got a guitar, or wouldn't be Built to Spill. But I think that's one small negative aspect. I don't think he's a bad singer. Probably wouldn't say he's a great singer, but I do think a lot of it kind of just is in a nice little safe, cushy bubble that he performs in. And this one, he's starting to get a little bit more character and like spreading his wings a little bit. And I like it. I think Another Day is great. It's loud, it's heavy. I think So is a tremendous song. And then it closes with When I'm Blind, an 8.5 minute, just Built to Spill classic epic. Did not make my top 10 tomorrow, but it's a song I would absolutely love to hear live. He's just doing some ridiculous shredding towards the end of it. So to me, it's really weird that they released this one in, was it 2014, 2015? And then we didn't really get anything. I know he did some stuff on the side, but then the one they do after that is the Daniel Johnston album. So for me, leading up to this album chronologically, I was like so happy to get like a really heavy guitar rock and roll record. And now it's been 6 years from that again. Like we need the next Built to Spill record just got to be in your face, awesome, just like this. That's what I want. 4.5 stars, really, really great. Number 3, Untethered Moon.
Right, my number 3 is a classic. I think if Perfect From Now On isn't your favorite Built to Spill record, this one probably is for most people. Keep It Like a Secret from 1999. As I already kind of alluded to, they kind of found their sound on Perfect From Now On and took it up a notch with this one. I think within 15 seconds of this record, you already have a more memorable melody and a better guitar hook than anything on Perfect From Now On. Just lodges right in the head. The songs are shorter, more concise, but I think it retains all of the cool things that they discovered on the previous record with the rich guitar textures, kind of the adventurous spirit. Even though they're cutting down the songs, I don't think they're going back to like boring like ABA song structures. I think Marsh's voice sounds really good on this record. It's more upfront in the mix. It's almost kind of like a blending of their second record and their third record with the strong melodies from album number 2 and the strong guitar work and sort of layered instrumentation from their third record. I think there's great drumming on Carry the Zero. Sidewalk is great, really upbeat, catchy, very cool bass work on it. And there's some like slide guitar. I'm not sure if he's using a slide or not exactly, but it sounds like a slide guitar. There's a cool little breakdown in it with a synth and like these filtered drums, really cool. There's also great drumming on Time Trap and Temporarily Blind. Those are both great tracks. I think Scott Plouffe, the drummer on here, really stands out more than on any other album. Overall, just really good. 4 stars.
Yeah, I agree. I don't have it number 1. I got it at number 2, and for all the reasons you just said, but I got it at 4.5 stars. You know, a bunch of really big Built to Spill songs on this album with The Plan, Carry the Zero. I think the drumming by Plouffe is amazing, like you said. I also think this is probably their runaway best lyrical album. All of the songs have tremendous lyrics. Yeah, I mean, everything just sounds good. I don't have too much else to say that you did. I will say they kind of master on this album with songs like Carry the Zero and Else, that like perfect, like mid-tempo, mellow but not slow, just kind of like just a good head nod tapping, little bit hypnotic, just rock song it's just really good. Everything here, like you said, comes together from the Phil X'd up, winding into this one. It's everything they were doing, just done perfectly. It's kind of like their lightning in a bottle album. But the thing that'll keep my number one above this is just kind of the creativity and the fun they have on it. So number two, Keep It Like a Secret. Sure, the comments will be like, how can you say you're a Built to Spill fan and neither of you have Keep It Like a Secret at number one? Okay, whatever.
Our average list is going to be like every single album is going to land right in the middle. My number two is Cram's number seven. There's Nothing Wrong with Love from 1994, their sophomore album. Phil Eck producing. New rhythm section, got Andy Caps on drums on this one and Brett Nelson on bass. And I think this is where he finds his songwriting voice, even if it's not where he finds the sound of the band, which would be on the next record. The songs really come to the forefront. And listening to this week, I never really realized you can hear so much of this record in other bands that came like immediately after. I think Phil Eck worked with several of these bands. You can hear Modest Mouse kind of aping the sound of this record a lot. You can hear the Shins taking from this record. Even I can hear like Pinkerton era Weezer on this record and Ben Queller. I think this record is more influential than probably people realize because you can hear a lot of it in a lot of different music. So really cool stuff. The songwriting, like I said, is great. I think it's a really melodic record. Reasons, Big Dipper, and Car is just a really strong 3-song run near the front of the record that's great. I think Fling is also great with the acoustic guitar and string section. The guitars on this record are really different from the stuff they would do later on. They're really, really clean. There's minimal distortion on most of the record. The back half of the record, you start to get a little heavier with the guitars, but you got these like really thin, clean electric guitar tones through most of it, which is cool. I think it works for the songs, and I think all the songwriting is really good. So 4 stars still for me. Number 2, There's Nothing Wrong with Love.
Well, at least we're communicating and articulating our feelings well, because, yeah, I agree with you that, again, it was my number 7 album, and all of those artists, or most of those artists that you said this album kind of inspires, I don't really care for much, like Modest Mouse or Ben Queller. I do like the Shins a lot, obviously. And I think Phil Eck is a really good producer, so I'll chalk it up to him. My number 1 is going to be 4.5 stars. Can't quite get it up to 5. I wish, but we can't just be throwing out 5s like they're damn, be 10th sub at Subway coupons. Can't do it. Ancient Melodies of the Future. I don't think this is many people's number 1, but it sure as hell is mine. And that's because it is heavy and rich and fuzzy, thick guitar. It's loud, it's in your face, the drums are loud, but it's not just straight up like heavy guitar rock. There's a lot of creative ideas going on here, which I really love. That's why I like this one, because they went into the studio and said, we want to try some different things. And they did. And I think pretty much all of them work. You get more arrangements on each track, different instruments. Everything's like bigger and fuller. You get some synth on Strange. You get a little bit of like sludgy noise rock at times. I think In Your Mind is a really good song. It's a lot less melodic and perky at times, and especially than it is like on Keep It Like a Secret. Alarmed has really, really nice violin on it. Trimmed and Burning has amazing guitar. You can tell they're having fun on this with a song like Happiness, which is just like an old school like blues rocker that also just sounds like Built to Spill. Like they're going to do like an old blues rock with just that killer slide guitar, awesome drums on it. Don't Try is really good. There's pretty much once Happiness brings in that slide guitar on the album, they keep it for a few songs, which is really cool. Really majestic guitar on You Are. Fly Around My Pretty Little Miss is a really nice kind of geeky, little bit goofy song, which breaks up the intensity of the album really nice. I think start to finish, this one is just the best listen overall. I think you could probably argue there's a little bit more perfection in the craft and the songwriting and the lyrics and the highlights. My top 2 songs from For Tomorrow will be from Keep It Like a Secret, but I think start to finish for an early 2000s rock record, especially around 2001, when the sound of indie rock was starting to change a good bit, this one is like just heavy and thick, and at times could live up to like a Helmet record almost. It's just really just loud drums and cymbals and guitar. I think it's awesome. Pretty good discography overall for me outside of the first one. It's one of those artists that I was talking about when we did Mock the Hoop Hole. that's so pleasant to do, even though I don't have a 5-star album here. 3, 4.5s, a 4, really good rounding score. And really, there's never like a moment or a song for me in this catalog where I'm just like, ugh, like everything's at least pretty good. What's your number one?
I agree with you that, yeah, there's, even at their worst, they're not bad. There's no like terrible songs here. I think it's fair to say that you enjoy the heavier side of the band. For me, the standout thing, as good as the guitar playing is, I like his voice a lot, and I like his songwriting, and I like it when it's really melodic and pretty. But my number one is a record that I think marries the two sides perfectly. I've got You in Reverse from 2006. They add Jim Roth on guitar, immediately noticeable. The second guitar makes a huge difference, like within seconds of this record starting. And they change from Phil Eck to using Doug Martsch, self-producing, co-producing with Stephen Ray Lobdell. And the production, the sound of this record is so different from the previous records. You get so much more room sound, and it sounds so much more live, like a band playing in a room together on this record. And I love that about it. Going Against Your Mind with that opening drum beat, and you can just like hear the room, and you can hear the two guitars playing off of each other. It's so awesome. I love it. And it carries through the whole record. I think the songwriting is great. The guitar work is like adventurous, and they do all kinds of like cool stuff playing off of each other. But the songs are so good too. Like the melodies are all so catchy on this record. Like you were talking about with Liar, one of their catchiest songs. I think it's great. There's a little like television-esqueness to this record at times, like definitely. But yeah, I just love it. I think everything about this record's really, really strong. Overall, I just think it's the best marriage of the heavy guitars and the melodies. And I like the sound of it a lot, the way it sounds live and just like kind of spontaneous. And number one.
Yeah, I should probably have that one bumped up to 4.5, but I played it to death for so long, and I like discredited other Built to Spill albums. I don't know. It's just one of those, it's just not quite in the same esteem I used to have it, but 4 stars is 4 stars, baby. Really awesome. What are your closing thoughts?
Closing thoughts, really good, enjoyable band. I like all of their records, nothing below 3 stars for me, but not a favorite band that I go back to all the time. One of those that's just like super enjoyable, but if I'm not doing a listography, I don't think about them all that often.
I probably think about them a little bit more, but yeah, I don't think they would sneak into my top 100. Definitely always keep a lookout if they're releasing something or if they're gonna play live. Yeah, anyone out there, if they're coming to your neck of the woods, go check it out. Always really great, just live guitar music, especially. And Doug Martsch, I mean, can't really say enough about him. We were talking about it earlier in the video with the first couple albums. I mean, this is his occupation here. Does the writing, does the singing, does all of the guitar tracks until he brought on other guitars. Yeah, an indie rock god, so to speak, really.
Let us know what you think of these records, how you rank them, what you think of Built to Spill overall. If you enjoyed the video, hit the like button, subscribe to the channel if you're not subscribed yet, hit the bell for notifications, and check the description for links to all of our social media accounts, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. And we have a website that is starting to have some stuff added to it finally. So you can vote for our Song of the Year series over there. So next week, we will be back to full strength, all 3 of us. So we want to reward the viewers for sticking with us through these last few weeks. We've doing Dwight Yoakam and Muse, and before that we did Lenny Kravitz and Mott the Hoople. So we are going to get back to a big name. We're going to do the winner of our most recent poll. Really just eked it out 1% over the second place. We're going with Queen next week. So gear up for that. That'll be fun. The week after that, a little extra thank you for sticking with us through these more niche artists. We're going with the second place winner of the poll. We're going to do Steely Dan. And then I don't know the exact order all of these things are going to be coming out, but after that we have got Phil Collins, Elliott Smith, Alice in Chains. There might be some TV on the radio coming up at some point. So that's kind of the next month or so. So excited for all that. And we will see you tomorrow for our top 10 favorite Built to Spill songs.